Coming up on Citrus TV News Live at 6, Rob Romano will take a look at the implications of Justice Scalia's death for the Supreme Court.
Plus, Apple's CEO is fighting a federal court order to hack into the San Bernardino shooter's phone.
And Donald Trump has some fighting words for fellow GOP candidate Ted Cruz.
Citrus TV News starts right now. From the Citrus TV studios, this is Citrus TV News Live at 6, your campus news leader. And good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Hunter Sines.
And I'm Max Darrow. A car bomb went off during the middle of rush hour in Turkey's capital this evening. That's our top story tonight.
At least 28 people have been killed and more than 60 others injured after a car bomb rocked the Turkish capital of Ankara. The explosion was targeting a military vehicle convoy traveling through the downtown area.
The bomb went off close to important government buildings, including the Turkish parliament and the military headquarters. The Turkish government has declared the attack an act of terrorism.
Sports media leaders are coming to Syracuse next Wednesday as part of a Sports Matters Symposium.
The day-long discussion will examine the issues facing sports media today and will welcome sports journalists from a host of different networks. The discussion is free and open to the public. It'll be held in the Herg Auditorium in Newhouse at 9:15 Wednesday morning. And the recent passing of Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia leaves a vacant seat on the Supreme Court and a number of unanswered questions about future cases. Citrus TV reporter Rob Romano has more on Scalia's legacy and how his absence on the court will affect a number of decisions.
Probably say he voted against the times. He was a staunch opponent of abortion rights, gay marriage, and affirmative action in the court's decisions. However, Syracuse law professor Tara Helfman says the legacy of any Supreme Court justice should not be reduced to politics.
They have all dedicated their lives to the rule of law and to the rule of the Constitution. But what distinguishes these justices from one another is their methodological approach to understanding what the Constitution says and how it should be applied to hard cases.
Scalia was a believer in the original values of the Constitution, but Helfman says there were times when Scalia went against his own political views to uphold these values. She uses flag burning as an example.
Personally, he found the burning of the American flag offensive, repugnant, whatever sort of pejorative adjective you can throw at it, he probably would have come up with a worse one. But under the First Amendment and under his application of the First Amendment, an originalist application of the First Amendment, one was compelled to, as a judge interpreting the Constitution, to uphold an individual's right to burn the American flag.
Speaking of flags, one continues to fly at half-staff outside Capitol Hill in honor of Scalia. There is uncertainty as to who will replace him at a time when many Supreme Court decisions are on the horizon for immigration, contraception, and abortion, to name a few.
The vacancy on the court means there are 8 justices left on the bench, which means that if any of the upcoming decisions end in a 4-4 tie, then the decision of a lower court will stand until another case makes it to the top. Reporting for Citrus TV News, I'm Rob Romano.
17th century Dutch art is on display in the SU Art Gallery in an exhibition that will last through March. The features in the collection are 6 Rembrandt etchings owned by the university.
Graduate students are among the curators of the display, and they'll be hosting a gallery reception tomorrow. And one of Syracuse's own was profiled in the New York Times Magazine. Dana Spiotta, an author and associate professor of English, grabbed the Times' attention for her unique writing.
Her work focuses on the effect that external things have on people, and it's been hailed by the Times as a new kind of great American novel.
And well, coming up on Citrus TV News Live at 6, more on Scalia's death as it causes speculation around the world.
And with conspiracy theories popping up left and right, find out what the owner of the ranch the justice was staying at has to say about his death.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
Apple CEO Tim Cook is fighting a court order to unblock the iPhone belonging to one of the attackers who took part in the San Bernardino shootings. Cook published an open letter Tuesday night accusing the federal government of a, quote, overreach that he feels will breach the privacy of millions of other customers. The iPhone was owned by Saeed Farouk, the man who murdered 14 people with his wife, Tashfeen Malik, back in December. And the owner of the ranch where Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia was found dead is debunking conspiracy theories that foul play was involved. John Poindexter clarified a previous statement he made saying that a pillow was not in fact found over the justice's face, but instead against the headboard of his bed. Scalia's body will lie in state on Friday in the Great Room of the Supreme Court. His funeral will be on Saturday in Virginia. The White House says President Obama will not attend Scalia's funeral, but will rather pay his respects to the late justice at the Supreme Court.
A New York City-bound flight was diverted twice after leaving the Dominican Republic Monday afternoon. Delta Flight 944 was originally diverted to New Hampshire due to inclement weather on Monday evening. By Tuesday, the flight was diverted yet again to Boston due to high winds and turbulence. After 30 hours of traveling, the Delta flight finally touched down at JFK around 8 p.m. And a former Navy crewman's request for clemency has been rejected in Georgia. Travis Hitsons is scheduled to receive a lethal injection Wednesday night at a state prison in Jackson. He was convicted of killing fellow sailor Conway Utterbeck and burying his remains in 2 different states in April of 1992.
Tensions are rising in Asia after satellite images were released revealing China's deployment of several surface-to-air missiles on Woody Island. The highly disputed island in the South China Sea is claimed to be controlled by China, Taiwan, and Vietnam. China's foreign minister spoke today validating China's rights to occupying the island.
Our deployment of defense facilities in our own territory is appropriate and reasonable. It's aimed at improving our national defense capabilities and has nothing to do with so-called militarization.
Both the United States and Russia are refuting claims that their warplanes struck a Doctors Without Borders hospital in northern Syria, killing at least 9 civilians. A spokesperson for Russian President Vladimir Putin told reporters that claims stating Russia was involved are, quote, false and factless. American Colonel Steve Warren stated via Twitter that U.S. bombers do not fly over that area in Syria.
The Canadian federal government says that the number of missing or murdered Indigenous women in the country is higher than what previously was estimated. Indigenous Affairs Minister Carolyn Bennett and the Native Women's Association of Canada say they believe more than 4,000 Indigenous have gone missing since 1980. A national investigation is expected to begin in the upcoming months. Indonesia announced that it's banning the website Tumblr over concerns of pornographic content. This follows the removal of same-sex couple emojis, the ban of Netflix, and the blockage of Vimeo, all due to similar concerns about the content being offered to Indonesian citizens. According to Indonesian law, companies that don't comply with these strict laws can be charged. Nearly 500 other sites were shut down as a part of this crackdown.
We had icy conditions on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, but will we see some melting coming soon? Citrus TV weather reporter Nick Ross is here to fill us in. Nick?
Thanks, guys. Well, this was the look outside earlier today. Saw some light snow showers, just some flurries throughout the day. Nothing as bad as what we'd seen the past couple days. Things have been real miserable here in Syracuse. You know, we escaped that winter weather for so long, but now it's really coming kind of in full force in the past couple days. This is the future tracker as we look out here across the region. We can see that over the next 24 hours, we'll get a little blip overnight. You see not too much at all to worry about, actually. And as we look into tomorrow, precipitation free, which is always nice to see. That won't hold true for the rest of the week, as you'll see in my full 5-day forecast. As we look at the future tracker wider across the region, you can see that there's really nothing coming behind this system at all. We look pretty much in the clear, at least again, as I mentioned, for the next 24 hours. As we look at the surface map, you see this cold front right here is also going to continue to make things about the temperatures that we've seen. So shouldn't be too much change there to look at. Your current conditions outside right now, 28 degrees. We've seen a little bit of snow flurries throughout the day, as I mentioned. Those will taper off by about 7 o'clock or so. Feels like 20 degrees. Those winds, though, have calmed down, which is always nice to see. Overnight, 12 degrees, 30% chance of snow, as you saw that blip on the radar, and partly to mostly cloudy. As we take a look at the full 5-day forecast here, you can see tomorrow, Thursday, partly cloudy, 19 degrees. Friday, though, we're actually looking at rain. Those temperatures are going to be above freezing. Same thing for Saturday and Sunday, so you'll have warmer temperatures, but rain, and as you can see on Monday, temperatures drop back down. 32 degrees is your high. Rain and snow showers you're looking at for Monday.
All right, so Nick, you say the rain showers coming in this weekend. Is it going to be the slushy rain that we were getting earlier this week?
Well, things will warm back up, so you have a lot of that snow that's melting, so that's going to mix. You're going to have that same kind of thing that we experienced earlier in the week, though hopefully by this time a lot of it's been cleaned up and we do a little better with that than we did on Monday.
And do you think we're going to run into these same icy, dangerous roads? I mean, drivers are slipping all over the place.
Sure, you could look at that going into Monday, especially as those temperatures drop back down. We'll be warm over the weekend with the rain, but when that drops back down, you can see that black ice. That'll freeze overnight, especially as you look at some of the low temperatures overnight.
Well, Nick, thank you so much. And coming up after the break, President Obama has some strong words for GOP presidential candidate Donald Trump.
And the FDA has released new guidelines for people traveling to areas affected by the Zika virus. Stay with us.
Wake the sun, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
Really? Buzz, what's up, man?
You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president. And the reason is because I have a lot of faith in the American people.
Candidate who doesn't have the right knowledge to deal with other nations. Trump shrugged off the comments and said they were a compliment from the current president. And GOP presidential candidate Jeb Bush made a bold statement on Twitter yesterday. The former Florida governor tweeted a photo of a gun with the caption "America," sparking some controversy online. Many claim the tweet poorly equated the country's history with firearms. Bush says he tweeted the photo after visiting a gun manufacturing facility where high-wage jobs are created.
South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is set to endorse Marco Rubio, according to a source close to the governor. Haley made it crystal clear that she would not endorse frontrunner Donald Trump yesterday, after Trump spoke at a rally claiming Haley isn't fighting the federal government hard enough on international issues. Governor Haley responded by saying governors don't want a president who comes into their state and bashes it. And the Donald is throwing punches again, this time lashing out against his Republican rivals after issuing a statement threatening to sue Ted Cruz. The potential lawsuit is over Cruz's eligibility for the presidency if he doesn't take down anti-Trump attack ads. Trump spoke at a rally in South Carolina claiming Cruz is, quote, unstable. Take a look at this.
I think he's a very unstable guy. And I must tell you one thing about Ted Cruz that I can say that only to a minor extent by comparison for the other politicians. I haven't been doing this long. I've been in it since June 16th. But I will tell you, I have never, ever met a person that lies more than Ted Cruz.
A recent study reveals Adderall abuse is on the rise in young adults. The drug is a stimulant often used to treat ADHD and narcolepsy, but researchers say the number of prescriptions for people with ADHD have not increased. Instead, the study shows the sharp rise is in non-medical use, often resulting in an increase in emergency room visits.
The CDC announced they will investigate schools in Palo Alto, California, after discovering a high number of student suicides. The deaths signaled a suicide cluster, which is when 3 or more suicides occur in close proximity to one another. Between 2009 and 2010, 5 students committed suicide at Henry M. Gunn High School in Palo Alto. 3 more died from 2013 to 2014. The CDC will also investigate 3 other counties with high student suicide rates. And the FDA now is asking people who've recently traveled to areas affected by the Zika virus to hold off on donating blood. So far, there have been no reports of the virus getting into the U.S. blood supply, but health officials say travelers who plan to donate should wait at least 4 weeks after returning from an affected area to donate blood.
Coming up in sports, Syracuse looks for its 6th straight win as they take on Louisville. Hear what the players had to say ahead of the matchup. We'll be right back.
9th grade. I'm an A average student and I'm an athlete working towards a scholarship. And everybody tells me how much potential I have. But I just wish someone would tell me where my next meal is coming from. Katie, how'd I do?
Do you have to be so serious?
Well, I mean, I did like a crazy dance in a movie if you want me to do a little, no.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
preventing wildfires. That's all Smokey wants for his 70th birthday.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed all that.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
SU basketball gets back to work tonight after a couple of off days. The Orange is down in Louisville to take on the Cardinals at 7. Syracuse comes into this one winners of 5 in a row and 8 of its last 9, but keeping that streak alive will be a tough task against the 18th ranked Cards. Well, not only is Louisville good, but they're also even tougher to beat at home. Rick Pitino's bunch is 15-1 at the Yum Center this season, and SU is just 3-5 on the road. The good news for the Orange, it's won each of its last 2 battles down in Louisville. After tonight, SU is down to its final 4 games of the regular season. The stretch run is critical for the Cuse as it's just 1 game out of 4th place in the ACC, and those top 4 teams all get double byes in the conference tournament. 2 games to look out for are against Pitt and at UNC. Syracuse lost to both of those teams earlier this season. And after tonight's SU game, you'll want to check out college basketball's greatest rivalry as number 20 Duke travels down Tobacco Road to take on number 5 UNC at 9. The Blue Devils are on a bit of a roll, winning 4 straight, including impressive wins against ranked teams Louisville and Virginia. The Tar Heels, on the other hand, have lost 2 of 4. Louisville and SU and Duke UNC are not the only great games going on tonight. Number 15 Dayton takes on St. Joe's. No respect for the Hawks. They're 21-4 and not ranked at all. The top ranked team in the country, Villanova, takes on Temple. And finally, Providence hits the road to take on Xavier. And don't forget to catch Orange Press Pass tonight at 11 right here on OTN. Let's take a look at some of the highlights of Pitt Wake Forest. Last night didn't have as many great games as tonight, but let's put it this way. This one was a thriller. You see right there, all tied at 72. A missed 3 and another missed 3 there, and we're headed to overtime between Wake Forest and Pitt. Michael Young with a huge dunk for the Panthers right there. Wake Forest comes back, though, with Brian Crawford to try and win it at the end of the game. He misses. We're going to double overtime. Cornelius Hudson, a 3-point shot, gives Wake Forest a 1-point lead, 2:26 remaining, but from that point, it was all Pitt as Jamel Artis makes a jumper here to take the lead for the Panthers. Sheldon Jeter jumper goes right here, and after that, it was just a free throw battle. Not much Wake Forest could do. Pitt takes this one 101-96. Onto the ice, the Rangers take on the Blackhawks at the Garden tonight. Both teams are coming off wins without their captains. Marian Hossa is out again for Chicago tonight, but it looks like the Blue Shirts could get Ryan McDonough back. The New York defenseman has missed the last 4 games after suffering a concussion against the Flyers. A sad story out of the football world today as former SU linebacker Parker Canty has died. The 28-year-old was found unconscious by the mother of his 2-year-old daughter. Canty was living in Brooklyn and working as a security guard and substitute teacher at the time. An autopsy report is pending. Now, on a bit of a lighter note, NFL Hall of Famer and former SU star Jim Brown turns 80 today. Brown's NFL team, the Cleveland Browns, announced plans for a statue today to honor the ex-running back on his birthday. The statue will be located outside of First Energy Stadium in Cleveland. Since Brown's retirement, no Brown has worn his number 32. SU head football coach Dino Babers decided to wish Brown a happy birthday in a fun way. Babers is a known movie buff and gave his top 5 movies from Jim Brown's acting career. The top 3 were The Dirty Dozen, Any Given Sunday, and 100 Rifles.
So, Marco, the Cuse basketball team has really turned around ever since Boeheim's return.
Yeah, you got to think that he's making a difference on the bench. Only 4-5 with Mike Hopkins, but since Boeheim's been back, they've only lost 2 games. Who do you see winning here against Pitt and this weekend?
Louisville tonight is a tough one. Pitt this weekend, I think, easier win. But Louisville's really good. Look, they might be banned from the postseason. They banned themselves from the postseason because of the prostitution scandal they had down there. But tough team. They would be a real good team if they were able to be in the postseason.
All right, well, we'll be rooting them on. Thanks, Marco. And coming up, politics might be heating up in South Carolina.
But we'll take you to North Carolina, where a toddler proves that politics isn't only for those eligible to vote.
The weekend, usually, is a time to relax and unwind from the pressures of work and school. Unfortunately, the weekend is also a time for many people to abuse drugs and alcohol. Listen to the words some people use when they talk about the good time they had over the weekend. They say, "I went to a party Friday night and got plastered," or "Saturday night, I was really wasted." Maybe they didn't have such a good time after all.
This message furnished by the NCAA.
Welcome to Orange Press Pass.
Orange Press Pass is your ticket inside the Syracuse locker room. Hear from the coaches.
8 and we didn't win 8.
We got some open looks from the perimeter
and players.
Well, I saw pressure coming from the backside.
Get in-depth analysis, reports on site, and more.
Let's go on OPP.
Orange Press Pass, live after every Syracuse game.
Staring contest.
You still got it.
I know.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
And so, Nick, I guess we're back. We don't have a welcome back stinger, but anyways, coming back to the weather, it's going to be slushy, rain in the forecast. What should we expect going home tonight?
Well, going home tonight, things should be relatively clear. Snow showers should taper off by 7 o'clock, but tomorrow morning when you wake up, 11 degrees. Though no rain or snow to worry about, which is always good. That'll move in well into later in the day tomorrow.
So rain and snow later in the day. Do you know what it's going to be, or is it just going to be a wintry mix?
It's gonna start to transition into rain. It's gonna warm up. We're gonna start out with a mix of snow and rain. But like I said, as things warm up, they'll warm up over the weekend as well, and we'll see rain into Monday when it'll turn back into snow.
All right. Well, Nick, thank you. Well, Hunter, I think it's time for an American history lesson. Can you name all 44 presidents?
No, I can't. But if I did need a lifeline, I could count on a 4-year-old in North Carolina.
Miller Fillmore.
Tommy Johnston can name them all, from the less talked about ones like Warren G. Harding and Franklin Pierce.
To George Washington and George W. Bush, he's got it all down. But like I said, he can beat me. You did the test earlier, and you got 43.5. I couldn't name probably on 2 hands. I couldn't name 10 probably.
Well, when 45 comes around, he might have to throw Donald Trump in there. But that is all the time we have for tonight. I'm Max Darrow.
And I'm Hunter Sines. As always, thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Good night.